Another important tool that you'll find invaluable regardless of what project you're using is the object browser. You won't see this by default. In order to view this, select View, select Object Browser, or Ctrl-Alt-J as a shortcut. The object browser is an invaluable learning tool to allow you to explore the variety of different components that are available for you to work with. Because the .NET framework is so large, and because it also includes a variety of other components that are located in the Microsoft namespace, it's sometimes difficult to know whether something already exists or whether you should write it from scratch. A good way to avoid this problem is using the Object Explorer and browsing through the different components that are available. The Object Explorer appears in the middle of your screen by default. You'll see a drop-down list that allows you to narrow down to only work with components for a particular version of the framework. As you can see, for the Framework 2.0, I'm limited to typically the system.namespaces. As I bump myself up to 3.5, and Microsoft Prefix namespace is available to me. One of the ones that I find particularly useful is the Microsoft.Visual Basic namespace. I can go ahead and expand this and see all the different libraries that I have available. Expand again inside the Microsoft Visual Basic namespace, and you can see that you have a variety of data manipulation components and calculation components that you can use instead of writing your own. For example, you'll see a class that works with date and time. You'll see a variety of manipulations that you can do with date and time, such as adding dates, calculating dates, and calculating weekdays or years based on parts of a date that you provided. You can also do differences of a date or add values to a date. By clicking on the pink boxes, which are methods, you can now see below the function definition and how you would actually use that function. The object browser also provides documentation along with the description and the iteration of the methods and properties. You can see the parameters that are available, whether they're optional or whether they're required. And you can see the return values, what it returns, without simply being limited to just looking at an interface, which may be meaningless unless you know the documentation behind it. Another useful namespace is the financial one. Let's expand this. By clicking on the financial module, you'll see all the different methods that you have for doing financial calculations, such as internal rate of return, or calculating different percentages or rate of returns or percent values based on the different financial options that are available for you. You can examine the depreciation formulas a lot more closely by scrolling down and taking a look at the return values as well as the parameters and understanding what it expects and what it returns. Besides the Visual Basic library, you can also delve deeper into the presentation framework, and you can drill down and see all the components that you have available for drawing a user interface. You can examine the presentation core, which provides you with namespaces to work with tablet PCs and recognize ink or gestures. And you can actually use these methods and namespaces directly, or again, you can scroll down and take a look at the different documentation that's provided for you. Again, the object browser is a great learning tool, not only for working with methods, but also working with enums as well. Let's take a look again at the Visual Basic namespace. The double yellow icons provide you with enumerations. For example, if you scroll down, under VB Math, you'll see a randomize function. Let's say you want to pass an enumeration to the randomize function. You can use the enumerations, for example, the first day of week, and instead of specifying it directly with hard code, you can use a dynamically coded enumeration to work with the different options that you have available. Also, besides doing calculations and doing user interface options, you can also work with the Windows operating system and the files contained therein. Underneath the Microsoft Visual Basic File I/O namespace, you'll see enumerations for opening up directory and working with search options. Also, you'll see the ability to work with different components of the file system. By clicking on the File System module, you can see that you can copy directory, copy files, delete directories, and work with all the files and directories that are available on the Windows operating system and manipulate them without having to write your own code. As you can see, the object browser is a very powerful tool.